Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. I hope and pray that you guys had a great weekend. Um, Hope you had a great Shabbat. So I appreciate everyone for jumping in here. So I'm just going to go down the list here, just give some shout outs to those that are within the chat right now. So I want to start off by saying peace and blessings to Rabbi Stansbury. Appreciate you for jumping in here. Want to say peace and blessings to Sister Melinda. I want to say peace and blessings to you. And also say peace and blessings to who else do we have here? I want to say peace and blessings to Rochelle. Appreciate you as well. I want to say peace and blessings to Sean. All right. Want to say shalom to you. All right. We're going to get started here in a second. Want to give a minute or so for others to jump in. So we got a lot to cover today. And so we're going to go cover as much as we can over the next hour and a half. All right, let's see who else do we have here. I want to say peace and blessings to Darnell. Appreciate you for tuning in. So I want to say salama to you as well. All right, who else do we have here before we get started? All right, I want to say peace and blessings to Sister Carol. I want to say shalom to you. Say peace and blessings to Mr. Scott. Appreciate you. All right. Thank you for taking time out to tune into this teaching here. And again, we have about an hour and a half of material we're going to cover today. We're going to go until 10:30, and we'll see as much as we can get in and then continue this next weekend. But what we're going to deal with today, we're going to deal with a lot today. The goal is to map out, recreate the very first calendar of the Hebrew Israelite community. All right. And what we're also going to do is show the importance of the Shabbat. Right. I said Shabbat. Right. There's a difference between saying Shabbat versus Shabbat. And when you understand Shabbat, right, we know that's the day of rest. But Shabbat, right, that means scepter. That also means people. So words and pronunciations make a world of a difference. So we're going to deal with a lot today. I'm going to start off by showing you some key scriptures to understand the importance of honoring the Shabbat. Right now, I want to make this clear. When our assembly initially transitioned, right, to teaching identity, right, we still. I still wasn't convinced about honoring the Shabbat as we know it, because I've always been one of those that you had to know what you know if you was going to come and challenge me. And so many of you guys that know me when or from Facebook Initially, our assembly, we were still honoring, well, we were celebrating Sunday services. Now, we were not doing the Easter thing, the Christmas thing, and all of that, but we were still having first day of the week service, right? But what happened with me is I'm going to share some of the scriptures and understanding the importance of the Shabbat and really reading um, the Maccabees from free from any type of influence of my seminary teachings and all those different things. All right. So when I saw how adamant the Israelites were in honoring the Shabbat and how the Greeks, not the Romans, starting with the Greeks, how they made an assertive effort to try to get Israel to what? Not honor the Shabbat. So within our ministry, and they'll share the testimony. For 2 years, right? I taught about the Shabbat, but we began to have first day of the week service as well as Shabbat service. So we were doing both services for 2 years. Then almost 2 years ago, celebrating the Feast of Dedication, the Most High gave me the wisdom and said, hey, just have Shabbat service. Just have Shabbat service. And then allow the people to take a vote on what they would, on what we're going to do. Now, mind you, we were not going to stop honoring the Shabbat. We just would have continued on doing dual services for both days. Well, unanimously, the entire assembly agreed that we're going to just honor the Shabbat, right? And from that point on, we honored the Shabbat as a community, as an assembly of witnesses. So I understand the challenge and the process. The scripture tells us, right? He who wins souls is wise. So we have to be wise and use wisdom of making that transition, right? So I understand that there is a transition, but you still have to make the transition. And I'm going to show you with the text. All right. So with that being said, I am a pastor. And what I'm sharing with you is the testimony, real testimonies of our assembly going from being within Christianity and all the principles that come with the territory of Christianity, with the exception we didn't do the Easter thing, we didn't do all those things, right? But we still had first day of the week service. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Wanted to give enough time for others to tune in. Let me change the screen here so you can see the presentation. And if you can hear me clearly, type 1. If you can hear me clearly, type 1. All right. So I give it another minute or so for you guys to respond. So if you can hear me clearly, type 1. All right. And to make it clear here, we're going to cover a lot. Some of the things we're going to knock down is I hear it over and over, especially from within Christianity. They will say that, and you have scholars, educators, and I was going to put one of the clips up here from a very known theologian within Christianity who teach that he believes that the Shabbat is going to be honored by all, but not right now. It's only for Israel. That is that, and I'm going to share the scripture shortly. And that in the future, all will honor the Shabbat. So we're going to deal with that. All right. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let me get my presentation here. All right. And I'll toggle back and forth if there's, just to make sure that there's no issues here. Okay. So tell me when. He is not here. All right. So we're going to pinpoint the actual day that the Hebrew Israelite Messiah was lynched. All right. I know that can make people feel some kind of way. I use the term lynch, especially if you understand what lynching is. Lynching is not just hanging someone. Lynching is the entire process. Hanging someone is just the climax of the lynching, because even after that, the hanging, if you understand the lynchings that transpired, right? The ugliness, the evilness, the satanic rituals, they would actually chop up many of the victims and use their bodies as souvenirs. They'll use their hair to fill up pillowcases. They use their skin to make belts out of leather, handbags, shoes. You guys can look it up if I'm incorrect, if I'm wrong about that. All right, so we're gonna delve into this. So the Hebrew Israelite Messiah, he was it was more than just a hanging. He was lynched. He was brutalized before they even hung him. All right, so I want to make that clear. So tell me when he is not here. But I want to start off with a Hebrew word here. All right, you guys see this word all the time, dabar. All right, I want to deal with this word dabar yam, right? In modern Hebrew or Israeli language, you hear dabarim, all right? But we're going to strictly stick with the ancient Hebrew pronunciations. And next week, we'll do part 2 of understanding Hebrew. But nevertheless, dabar, that's the root word that we're going to focus on. That word dabar transliterates to the word commandment. All right. I want you guys to understand. Now, let me give you proof of this. But let's see what the word means. Dabar. This is what dabar means. It means to speak, answer, appoint, bid, command, commune, declare, destroy, promise, pronounce. And then you could go further and see, even though it's not highlighted, rehearse, say, speak, be spokesman, subdue, talk, teach, right? Dabar. Deborah's name, right, comes from Dabar. This is what Deborah's name means. Some would say Deborah or Deborah, but she was a judge and a prophetess. And this is what her name means. So for all those that teach that women are not supposed to teach, well, just this right here, understanding Deborah's name, give you an understanding of her roles and responsibilities of being a prophetess and a judge, right? Not many people held that dual position. Moses was a prophet and a judge, right? We see that Samuel was a prophet and a judge, right? There were others, and we see that Deborah was a prophet and a judge, all right? But we'll deal with that another time. So again, dabar means to speak, answer, appoint, bid, command, declare, promise, pronounce. Okay. So let's go to Exodus chapter 34, verse 28. Let's deal with this here. Let me give you a key scripture here, key text. And he was there with Yahweh. He, that's referring to Moses or Masha. Say he was there with Yahweh 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words. Wait a minute. You see what's there? The words dabar of the covenant, barayath. In Israeli language, berit. All right. But we're going to focus on ancient Hebrew. All right. And it goes on to say the 10 Ashar commandments, dabar yam. So we see the word dabar, right, where it says he wrote upon the tables, in other words, tablets, the words, in other words, dabar of the covenant, meaning you cannot have a covenant without laws, without commandments. If not, you'll just have a blank check. And no, Yahweh did not give his people a blank check. But then it goes on to say the 10 Ashar commandments, dabar yam. So we see the word commandments in the plural, masculine plural, dabar yam. So I hope you guys grab that. Now I want to show you a key understanding of this letter. I'm not going to go into the details. We'll say that for next time we come. This is the yod. In the Israeli language, it's pronounced yod. The numerical value is 10. All right. And this letter means hand, arm, redemption. So when you see this letter or when you see 10, when you see redemption, think about this letter, right? And the pictograph you see looks like an outstretched arm. Okay. Hand, arm, redemption. So I want you to make sure you understand that right there. So we see the 10 commandments, right? And we see the numerical value of the yod means redemption. So those 10 commandments is the foundation of redemption. And within those 10 commandments, you see so much time is spent with what? The Shabbat. All right. So the 10 commandments were placed inside the Ark of the Covenant. Let me make that clear. The 10 commandments were placed inside the Ark of the Covenant, which is also referred to the Ark of Yah. This is Hebrew chapter 9, verse 4. It says, which had the golden censer and the Ark of the Covenant, what we just dealing with, overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, right? Remember the manna when Israel was in the wilderness, and Aaron's rod that budded. That's a miracle in itself. And then we see it says, in the tables of the covenant. So within the Ark of the Covenant, we see the commandments, written commandments, the tablets of the commandments is inside the covenant. So let's go to Exodus chapter 31, verse 12 and 13. Let's see what it says. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, Mashah, saying, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Sabbaths, right, ye shall keep. Let me say that again. Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep. And when you understand the responsibilities that was given to Adam from the beginning, he was given two key responsibilities when it came to the garden, to till or dress, right? Till, the Hebrew word for till is abad, right? Abad, which also you get the word culture or cultivate. But also his responsibility was to keep. Keep, right? Means to watch, execute. So that word, the Hebrew word for keep is shamar. So those are two key responsibilities that Adam was given at the very beginning. Shamar. So we see here, ye shall what? Keep. So when you understand the word keep, it means watchman, but also it means execute. It goes on to say, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you. Key word there, the Shabbats, not just the 7th-day Shabbat, but also the holy days, right? The holy convocations, right? Ma Quara, the holy convocations, or we'll say Ma Quara, which is convocation, holy Quadash. It is a sign. These holy days, as far as the 7 days Shabbat, as well as the holy days in terms of the celebration, the feast days, these are signs between the Most High and his people. And it says, and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you. Let's deal with the Hebrew definition of the word signs. This is what sign means. This is what it means. It says a signal, but it goes on to say evidence, mark, miracle, proof. So the Shabbat is set aside to be what? A signal, evidence, mark, miracle. We see here token, right? Sign and proof. to be evidence, proof. That's what the Shabbat is set aside for. All right. So not only did the Ark of the Covenant represent Yahweh's physical presence, because that's what the Ark represented, Yah's physical presence among his people. The Ark of Yah, or the Ark of the Covenant, also represents the Word taking a physical form and dwelling among them. Let me say that again. It also represents the Word, Dabar, taking a physical form and dwelling among them. Doesn't that sound familiar? It should. John chapter 1, verse 14 says this: "And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth." In this verse, it's referring, when it says word, it is referring to the Hebrew Israelite Messiah. The very first verse says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim." All right. Let me make sure everything is good on this side here. All right. Not seeing any questions so far, but in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was, uh, and the Word was Elohim, and the Word was with Elohim. All right. Let me say that again. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. All right. We'll deal with the name, Elohim, the term. We'll deal with that next week when we deal with Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew part 2. So we see here in this text is saying that the Hebrew Israelite Messiah is the Word that was made flesh to dwell among us. Doesn't that sound similar to the Ark of the Covenant? The Ark of the Covenant, even though the Word was not made flesh there, but it was made into what? It was placed inside the ark. The tablets were placed inside the ark, and not only did it represent the physical presence of Yah, but His Word dwelling among the people. So the next question I want to answer and deal with real quick is: are non-Israelites required to honor the Shabbat? And I want to tell you, absolutely. See, one of the fallacies that the church teaches, Catholicism teaches, the institution of Christianity teaches, they teach that there's the law is for the Israelites, but there's a separate law for the Gentiles, per se, all those that are not Israelites. And they base a lot of that off of Acts chapter 15, referring to the council that was put together there to address the key thing that they addressed was circumcision. So we're going to deal with that another time, because I'm doing a series inside our assembly about the covenant. And we've been dealing with that for 6 weeks now. So are the non-Israelites required to honor the Shabbat? Absolutely. Now, let me give you a key chapter and verse here. Isaiah chapter 56, verse 3 through 7. This is what it says. It says, "Neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to Yahweh speak, saying, Yahweh hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, Behold, I am a dry tree. For thus saith Yahweh unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbath." Wait a minute. So the eunuchs are required to keep the Sabbaths as well. And it goes on to say, "And choose the things that please me." Wait a minute. So the Sabbath pleases Yahweh, but we have the same people teaching these sons of strangers, these sons or daughters of another nation that is not Israel, teaching us, telling us we don't have to honor the Sabbath or the Shabbat. It says, "And choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant, And within that covenant, there are 10 commandments that we just pointed out. Goes on to say, even unto them will I give in mine house, bayat, house, and within my walls a place and a name better than the sons and of daughters, saying that those that are sons and daughters of strangers that want to have a relationship with the Most High honor the Shabbat, because that is key. Because just about every nation that took captive of the Israelites, enslaved the Israelites, they profaned everything that Israel was known for, including honoring the Shabbat and worshiping the Father on the Shabbat. So it says here, even unto them will I give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name, reputation, sham, that shall not be cut off. But it didn't stop there. It goes on to say, also the sons of the stranger that joined themselves to Yahweh to serve him and to love the name, the reputation, sham of Yahweh, to be his servants. Now, servant in Hebrew is abadah, right? So you see till, dress, right? The primitive root of servant is abad, right? And you see servants here is what? Abadah. So that means you have to be what? Someone that's willing to what? Cultivate the culture that Yah has set up for his people to honor and defend and watch over. Everyone, let me say that again. Everyone that keepeth, there's that word. Everyone that keepeth, we see servant that abadah, that comes from the primitive root word, which is abad. Everyone, akkad, that keepeth. Now we see that word again, keepeth. What is keepeth? Shamar, which means execute, means watch, right? The Shabbat from what? Polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. Didn't stop there. Let's see what else it said. We're going to close out with verse 7. It says, the name of Yahweh, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Shabbat from polluting it and take hold of my covenants, even them will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Now here's the kicker. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. For mine house shall be called an house of prayer for all people. Now, this is the very issue that the Hebrew Israelite Messiah had with the people, with Israel, that how they were hustling the people in the temple, turned the house of prayer into what? A den of thieves. They had the marketplace. That's the term for today. When we start dealing with businesses, they call it the marketplace. They had the marketplace within what? The temple, and it resided in the court of the Gentiles. All right. So nevertheless says, for my house shall be called an house of prayer for all people. Okay. So I hope that gives you some things to start off with. I'm not going to go deep into, I got more that I can talk about and teach about the Shabbat that can really shut down all the narratives, all the things that the people are teaching against it. We have people that are even teaching that, hey, you know what? The calendars have been changed. Nobody knows exactly what day it is. That is completely incorrect. Regardless of whether the days of the years change from 360 to 365 to whatever the number is, the one thing that remained constant was the 7 days. Whether you start dealing with the Gregorian calendar that was implemented in the 5th, 6th century, it still did not stop the 7-day cycle. So whether you have 400 days, 500 days in a year, it still did not stop the 7-day cycle. So we need to hold these leaders accountable when they're teaching poor doctrine. You got many leaders that are even teaching the truth of identity, still honoring having worship, right? The first day of the weekend, saying that and using as an excuse, saying that, hey, you know what? We don't know what day it is. So because you say you don't know what day it is, then you want to default to what the day that Constantine declared to be a day of worship for the church. We're supposed to be what? Separate. Come out from among them and be what? Separated. So we want to deal with this. So I want to touch on this just a little bit. That's why I want to touch on this right here. The 7-day cycle never changed. Only thing that has changed is what? The years. You change the years, then you make it harder to pinpoint what the holy days is. So what we're going to do is we're going to reconstruct the Hebrew calendar based upon the scriptures. And I'm going to walk you through that. All right. So here we go. Let's go and get into it. So the objectives for this lesson. See, that was just the introduction. The objectives for this lesson. We're going to deal with what is Abib. We're going to define that. We're going to deal with what is a biblical season. We're going to deal with when should we honor the Passover or Passat. We're going to reconstruct the very first month of the Hebrew calendar. And this is important. We're going to do something that many people thought that it's impossible to do, but we're going to do it here. And I'm going to show you how. We're going to map out the date of Hamashiach's death and resurrection. All right. And remember, Exodus chapter 31, the Shabbat is what? A sign forever for Yah's people. And I'm going to show you why that scripture is so important. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Let's start here. It says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, Masha, and Aaron, Aharon, in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning, Ra'ash, of months, Karash Yam. It shall be the first month of the year, Shana, unto you. All right, let's break this down. Again, shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month, right? The first month. It shall be the first month. So let's deal with the Hebrew definition of month. You see the word there, Karash. Karash, powerful word, important word to know, right? Karash means this: to be new, to rebuild, renew, repair. So when you understand the months, they are what? Cycles. So that's why you see to be new or to rebuild, to renew, to repair. This is one of those words of confusion. Why? Because the word new and renew is the same Hebrew word, karash. But this is the Hebrew word for month, karash. All right. So months in Hebrew means to be new, rebuild, repair. All right. So when we see here, again, karash, yam. Yam is the masculine plural. So let's go to chapter 13, verse 4. Another key scripture I want to cover here. This day came ye out in the month Abib, right? Month, Karash, Abib, Abayab. All right. And I'm not going to go to the bottom portion of it. That is ancient Hebrew. I could read it, but I'm not trying to pump myself up, trying to prove what I could do in terms of reading the Hebrew language and parsing the text and all that other stuff. We'll deal with that at another time. But for the sake of this presentation, and one thing I don't do, even in our assembly, I take what Paul said. Do not sit up here and get caught up in using all kinds of languages in front of the people. Keep it simple. That's what basically what Apostle Paul was dealing with speaking in tongues. So what you see below here is what you see transliterated in English. So we'll deal with this at another time. So key quote again, ye out in the month, Karash, right? Did Yah through Moses, Masha, call the very first month of the year Abib? That's the question. Are they referring to Abib as a name for this season? Yah gave instructions to Israel to remember the very day and month of his great deliverance. This great deliverance occurred during the period or season of the newly ripened grain. And this season is called what? Abib. Abib. Abib is actually a season. I'm going to say that again. Abib is really a season, but I don't want to get in front of it. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Robert Callahan. That's where he lost me. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. You're dealing with someone else. Okay. But we're going to get clarity on here. We're going to go further with this. Yes. A lot of people is teaching, losing me when they are teaching against the Shabbat, especially once you come into the truth. All right. So let's deal with Abib. This is coming from the Easton's Bible Dictionary definition of Abib. This is what it says. All right. An ear of corn, the month of newly ripened grain. We're really dealing with what? The season, the first of the Jewish ecclesiastical year, and the seventh of the civil year. It began about the time of the vernal equinox on March 21st. And we're going to deal with this some more because unfortunately, we're being taught and have been taught that Abib is the name of the first month. And when you understand the methodology of Moses when he wrote the Torah, you'll notice that he always referred to the months as days. Not days, but numbers. He'll say the first month, the second month, the 10th month, the 12th month. Why? Because when you start looking at the terms and he's freeing, Israel's being freed from captivity. They're being freed from what? Many of what? The names of months and seasons that pointed to who? The gods that they were delivered from. All right. But we're going to deal with this some more. Let's start with the solstice. And I'm going here because many will say, hey, you know what? It's impossible to reconstruct the calendar. It's impossible to know when the Shabbat started. They said all these things are impossible. But guess what? The Most High gave us things all around us to make sure that we're able to what? Accurately tell when the seasons start. All these different things. For example, when you go outside and you see the leaves turning colors like orange and yellow and they start falling from trees, no one have to tell you that the season is transitioning to what? Fall. When you see or feel the temperatures drop, you know that you are transitioning over to the winter months. No one has to come and tell you those things. You can even sense when spring is coming. Why? Because you start seeing the signs. You see the signs. You see the days are starting to what? Lengthen with the sunlight. All right. So again, not trying to get so preachy here, but want to stay straight to the point. So let's start with the solstice. All right. This is the solstice. Merriam-Webster Dictionary. This is what it says. Either of the 2 points on the ecliptic at which its distance from the celestial equator is greatest and which is reached by the sun each year about June 21st and December 21st. So now we see 2 seasons there because June 21st is referred to what? Summer, the beginning of what? Summer. And when we see December 21st, we see that is what? The beginning of winter. So we just with the solstice, they represent what? 2 seasons. Now let's deal with the equinox. Let's deal with the equinox. It says either of the 2 times each year as about March 21st and September 23rd, when the sun crosses the equator and day and night are everywhere on earth of approximately equal length. But notice we just defined 2 more seasons. Here, the equinox, right, represents the spring and the fall. All right. So again, the solstice represents the summer and the winter. The equinox represents what? The spring and the fall. And we see what? The signs, right, between the 2. It says day and night are everywhere on earth of approximately equal lengths. So let's confirm the solstice with scripture. Let's go to Genesis chapter 8, verse 22. We're going to confirm seasons with scripture. It says, while the earth remaineth, seed, time and harvest, and cold and heat, summer, winter, and day and night shall not cease. Wait a minute. Cold, heat, summer, winter, that's the solstice, as I just explained to you. As you see, it's all in the scriptures. You see that it's all in the scriptures. All right. So the spring equinox, let's confirm it with scripture. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 through 17. Let's deal with the spring equinox. All right. We dealt with the solstice. Let's deal with the spring equinox. Verse 14. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs. There it is. Signs for what? For seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. It goes on to say, and Elohim made two greater lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. All right. Then it goes on to say in verse 18 and 19, and to rule over the day and over the night, to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. All right. So we're going to deal with a lot in this text, a lot in this text. All right. We got a lot to cover in this text. Let me look at the comments real quick just to make sure everything is good. Let's see here. Yes, Sister Carol made a great point, because we have to also watch the patterns, the behaviors of animals to know what season that we are in. Because many animals, like birds, they begin to what? Fly south, to warmer areas. We see like bears and other animals, right? They begin to what? Hibernate. So you see behavior patterns. And what's interesting about the tsunami that occurred years ago, probably about 10, 15 years ago, right? There was an island that was not affected by the tsunami. Why? Because the people saw all the animals fleeing inward on the island. And when they saw that, all the people did the same thing. And so because of that, paying attention to the signs, no fatalities due to that tsunami. All right. So great point, Sister Carol. So again, the evening and the morning. Now we're going to deal with when a day starts. All right. We're going to deal with this. All right. Because that's another thing that's being, talked about, and a lot of misunderstandings on when do a day, according to the Hebrew text, begin. So it says, so the question here, is there a difference between night, la yala, and evening? All right. Some would say la or la yala, right? Is there a difference between night and evening? And I'm going to show you there is a difference. Let's start with the definition of night. This is what it means. Right? It means, let's see here. It says here, a twist away of the light. An example, night. Then we see what? Midnight. All right? Midnight. And when we think of midnight, that is what? At 12, right? At 12 a.m. That is like the height of the night, the height of darkness. Okay. So we're going to deal with this. We're going to see a difference. Now, here's the definition of evening. All right. Let's see what it means. Right. Arab. It means to grow dusky at sundown, be darkened. So you see there is a difference, and we're going to touch on this real quick. So is there a difference between day and night? Is there a difference between the two? Yawam, is there a difference? Let's deal with day. All right. And we're going to break these down real quick. So it says here, to be hot, a day, as the warm hours. So from a biblical perspective, when we start thinking of the daytime versus the morning versus the day, right? We will understand that the morning right? Or should I say uh, the day is the hot part of the day, the height of the day, right? When you look at it from this perspective, this biblical perspective, normally the hottest point of the day is 12 o'clock. So just like the darkest part of a night, right, is 12, the hottest part of the day is what? 12. So we see day can be used in different ways. You know, you have to understand the context of what is being used, right? So let's deal with the Hebrew definition of morning. All right. Bakar, which means dawn, as the break of day, early, morning, morrow. Okay. So we're going to bring all of this together so that way you get an understanding of what it means, right? And let's see what it says here. It says, let's deal with verse 4 and 5, and I'm going to bring all three of it. I mean, break down the difference between evening and night versus morning and day here in a second. We're going to do that right here. So, verse 4, and Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. All right. So we see that from the morning, right? When you understand this, the morning is the transition into the light. All right. Awar, the day. When we say the morning, that is what? The transition into what? The day. Just like the evening is a transition into the night. Let me say that again. All right. The morning is the transition. The morning, Bakar, is the transition into what? The light, into what? The day. Yawam. The high part of the day is what? 12 noon. Right. So the Hebrew definition of light, let's see what it says. It says luminous, break of day, glorious, kindle, set on fire. But here's the key, the sub entry or the entry number one says to be or become light. All right. So again, when we look at the transition, the evening is transitioning into what? The night. So you'll still see what? Light outside, and vice versa, right? The morning is transitioning from what? The dark into the light. All right. Transitioning from the dark, right, to the light, from night, right, into the day. So there's two transitional periods of the day, or a 24-hour cycle, evening and morning. So the evening, Arab, is the transition into the dark, Kashak, the night. All right. So let's deal with darkness real quick. It says this: to be dark, to darken, be dim. Okay. So I could deal with this in some other scriptures that this, even refer to this as skin complexion. All right. But we're going to deal with this right now just for what it is. Okay. In the text that we're dealing with. Let's go to verse 16 through 19 of Genesis chapter 1. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening, there we see evening. All right, Arab, evening, and the morning. All right, Bakar were the fourth day. So we see the day starts what? At evening, right? Arab, and guess what? The full 24 cycle of a day from eve to eve. That's where you get the term eve to eve. Okay. The morning portion of that day begins where? All right. When does it begin? Bakar, when does it begin? We're going to deal with that some more. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I hope this is helping you guys. All right. So, what are the greater lights? This is another point I want to make real quick. What are the greater lights? All right. What are the greater lights? The greater lights are referring to the stars, and the stars in some sections of scripture refers to the angels. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 through 14. It says this: How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above what? The stars of Allah or Allahayam. All right. So we see it there. It goes on to say, I will, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. All right. So we see again, it says, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Okay. Let's go to Revelation chapter 22, verse 16. All right. And it says this. And this is one of the scriptures that many try to say that, you try to use this to say Christ is the devil, or, we'll deal with that another time, but you can debunk this just with knowing the scriptures here. All right. So it says, I, Jesus, Yahushai, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. In other words, the congregation of Israel. All right. Let me go back here. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. All right. Bright and morning star. Hasatan and the angels are referred to as son of the morning, but we'll deal with that another time. So how did ancient civilizations, how were they accurately able to accurately determine the equinox? All right. How are they able to accurately determine the equinox? They don't have all the technology that we have today. They don't have all the things that we are privy to having today, but they were able to accurately break down a 24-hour cycle of a day, right? They were actually accurately able to what? Establish a calendar, all right? We'll deal with the calendar here as well. So how did the ancient civilizations accurately determine the equinox? Let's deal with Stonehenge, right? Stonehenge. This is the actual first church. Because if you understand the word church is a Celtic word, which means circle. And it's referring to what? Their place of worship, because their place of worship was in a circle. So Stonehenge of England is the church, is a church, the first church per se of who? The Celtics. All right. And you see an illustration on your screen. But let's deal with Stonehenge. All right. Stonehenge, El Castillo, Mexico. One of the most famous ancient spring equinox celebrations was the Mayan sacrificial ritual by the main pyramid in Chichen Itza, Mexico. The pyramid, also known as El Castillo, has 4 staircases running from the top to the bottom of the pyramid's face. The staircases were built at a carefully calculated angle so that at the precise moment of the equinox and for a period of about half an hour, a snake of sunlight appears to slither down the stairs. The plumed serpent of light represents Kukulkan, a snake deity whose carved head is found at the base of the staircase of the stairs. All right, Kukulkan appears twice a year on the spring and autumn equinox. Remember, we just dealt with the equinox, right? Where what? These, when the hours, the day, night and day is equal, right? All around the world. So it says it here, confirming what I just taught you. When day and night, light and dark are equal and in balance. Okay, Stonehenge, England. All right, you see that there as well. It says whatever religious, mystical, or spiritual elements were central to Stonehenge, its design also includes a celestial observatory. It goes on to say, function which allow prediction of eclipses, solstice, equinox, and other celestial events. So this tells you that the position, when you look at Stonehenge from an aerial view, is going to form a circle. And they are able to accurately predict eclipses, solstice, the equinoxes, as well as other events, all because of what? The positioning of those stones. Okay, so on the vernal equinox, the Druids and pagans celebrated the ancient Saxon goddess Eostria. In other words, now we're dealing with Easter, right? Who symbolizes fertility and new beginnings. English heritage, the caretakers of Stonehenge opened the ancient site up to Druids. And this is where they will also do sacrificial rituals, human sacrifices, animal sacrifices, and so forth. All right. All right. So ancient Egypt's mysterious alignment of Giza pyramids. All right. This is coming from Newsweek. And I'm just going to read a bullet here. It says here, let's see here. Let's start at the second row, the second line in the middle. Explain to the live science how ancient Egyptians may have figured out this alignment. It goes on to say, by counting 91 days after the summer solstice, one can land squarely on the fall equinox. On that day, you can stick a pole in the ground, all right, and watch the shadow. This type of pole functions as a gnomon, all right, a gnomon, rather, excuse me, which is the tall part of a sundial that casts a shadow. If you mark the tip of the pole's shadow as it moves across the sand during the day, the mark should create a line that points perfectly east and west. All right. So again, you see that ancient cultures were able to what? Pinpoint the equinoxes. All right. So we're going to deal with this some more. Let's see here. Let's go back here. Let me see what comments are here. All right. I see Rabbi Stansbury. And we're going to deal with this this verse right here that you pointed out, John 11, verse 9. Yeshua answered, are there not 12 hours in a day? All right. And we're going to give clarity to that as well. So appreciate your comments. Let's see what else do we have. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. I'm just going through here. Sister Melinda, like a sundial of sorts. Absolutely. We're gonna break that down as well. All right. So let's go ahead and delve back into this. So Israel's New Year began at the spring equinox. All right. The spring equinox is the time when night and day are at equal lengths. All right. Spring equinox. These are all the things we're going to cover here. The spring equinox is a full moon. All right. So let me make it clear. These are the things we're going to cover. All right. We're going to give clarity. I know it has check marks here, but this is the objectives for the next session. Let me go back here so that way we get a full understanding here. So, oh man, what's going on here? Right. So Israel's New Year began at the spring equinox. That is a question mark, but I have a check there, right? Because that's the objectives we want to deal with next. The spring equinox is the time when night and day are at equal lengths. We already covered that part. We confirmed that. The spring equinox is a full moon. All right. So now this is the question. Why do most churches have services on Sundays? Why? Why do most churches have services on Sundays? Who changed the Shabbat to Sundays? Who created Good Friday? The answer to that is Constantine. He is responsible for Sunday becoming the Christians and Catholics' primary day of worship. Let me say that again. Constantine is responsible for Sunday becoming the Christians and Catholics' primary day of worship. Let me confirm that here. All right. This is coming from The History of the Church by Philip Schaff. It says this. The civil sanction of the observance of Sunday and other festivals of the church. The state indeed should not and cannot enforce this observance upon anyone, but may undoubtedly and should, it goes on to say, prohibit the public disturbance and profanation of the Christian Sabbath and protect the Christians and their right and duty of its proper observance. Constantine in 321 AD forbade the sitting of courts and all secular labor in towns on the venerable day of the sun, as he expresses himself, perhaps with reference at once to the sun god Apollo and to Christ, the true Son of righteousness rather, to his pagan and to his Christian subjects. In other words, he's trying to appease both sides, but he's not dealing with the Hebrews. To his pagan and his Christian subjects, but he distinctly permitted the culture of farms and vineyards in the country, because frequently this could be attended to on no other day so well. Though one would suppose that the hardworking, all right, I'll get more into that. So that right there is dealing with the Sunday worship. All right, that is dealing with Sunday worship. I'll say that again. All right, that is dealing with Sunday worship. Okay, now we're going to deal with Constantine creating Good Friday. You guys heard of Good Friday? You know that is supposed to be the day that the Hebrew Israelite Messiah was hung on the cross. That's the day that he's supposedly was lynched, on this day. So Constantine, let me show you where Good Friday comes from. Constantine created Good Friday. All right, let me show you this. Going back to the same reference, it says, and at the same time enjoined the observance of Friday in memory of the death of Christ. Wait a minute. Constantine created Good Friday, enjoined the observance of Friday in memory of the death of Christ. So he created Sunday worship as a permanent day among Christianity at that time, Catholicism, whatever labels you want to refer to. We do know that Christianity was not a term in the antiquities. Christianity is a 10th century pronunciation. It was also referred to Christendom. And we know we get the word Catholic and all that. So not going into all of those things, but we see here Constantine at the same time enjoined the observance of Friday in memory of the death of Christ. All right. So let's reiterate this point. And at the same time of him changing Sunday worship, he also created the observance of Good Friday in memory of the death of the Hebrew Israelite Messiah. So not only did Constantine have power, all right, as we see here, he had power to change scripture and law, right? Because that's what he's doing. The Pope was supposedly given the same power, right? In 1302, Pope Boniface VIII issued a papal bull stating that the Pope has authority over two realms. All right, this is an article from historytoday.com archives. It says here, the most famous papal document in the Middle Ages affirming the authority of the Pope as the heir of Peter, right? And if you understand the scriptures, right, they teach the Catholicism teach that Peter is the first pope. When the Hebrew Israelite Messiah asked his disciples, how do the people see them? The disciples told him how the people see them. And then he flipped it on them. How do you see me? How you responded to those that may see me in these different areas, these different lights. And so Peter said, thou art the Christ, thou art Hamashaya, the son of the living Elohim, right? Son of Yah, right? And so the Hebrew Israelite Messiah said, on this rock, right? He says, well, first he went on to say, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but the Spirit of the Most High revealed this to you. And on this rock, he's going to build up his church. We're going to deal with these words of confusion. From a Hebraic perspective, we see the Greek word, ecclesia. If you go to the details of that, ecclesia will make it clear, called out congregation, specific Israel, when you're looking at an in-depth definition of the word. So we know that when you see church, actually it is the assembly of the congregation of Israel. To be more specific, the assembly of witnesses, Israel, the Israelites. All right. So just wanted to give you a quick rundown of that, but let's read this some more. It says, affirming the authority of the Pope as the heir of Peter and vicar of Christ over all human authorities, spiritual and temporal. Spiritual power, and we see vicar of Christ replacement. All right. Spiritual power, according to the bull, rests in the hands of the church. Temporal power is in the hands of kings and soldiers, but is to be exercised only as the church permits, because things spiritual are superior to things temporal. If temporal power errs, it is to be judged by the spiritual power. If lesser spiritual powers errs, it is to be judged by the higher spiritual power, all the way up to the supreme spiritual power. The papacy itself, which can be judged only by God. You see how the authority of this of the popes have. All right, we declare, state, and define that it is absolutely necessary for salvation that every human creature be subjected to the Roman pontiff. The Pope went on in 1303 to confirm the dispute choice of Albert Habsburg as Holy Roman Emperor and announced that the emperor was overlord over all other rulers. You see that? You see what's happening here? So, and it goes on to say, including the king of France, under the ultimate supremacy of the Pope. All right. You see what's happening here? All right. You see what's happening here, showing you the power of the Pope. So did the Hebrew Israelite Messiah, right? Did he make any new commandments? All right. I'm dealing with this all together, right? Did he make any new commandments? Right? Because when we deal with this, many would say or give the impression that he changed the Shabbat, which he didn't. Did he give any new commandments? Did he change the Shabbat? The Hebrew definition of commandment, remember, we covered one already. Dabar transliterates to commandments, and we saw the 10 commandments there, the scriptures that I made reference to. Here's another Hebrew definition of commandment, word that transliterates to commandments. You see here, tazawah, or some would say sawa, right? That's in, dealing with Israeli language, but not getting into all of that. But the Hebrew definition of commandment, this is what it says. It says to constitute, appoint, command, commander, commandment, set, and order. Okay. So did Hamashiah change the commandments? Absolutely not. See, this is a popular verse many use to justify their beliefs that Hamashiach changed the commandments. They would go straight to John chapter 13, verse 34, and this is what they would use. A new, remember the word new in in Hebrew is chadash, which means commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. That's what they would use. Like, this is a new commandment. This is not a new commandment to love one another. This is a renewing of the commandments. But let me show you this, right? Again, new commandment I give unto you, right? Did Hamashiach change the commandments? Absolutely not. Here's proof. This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 37. And I encourage you guys, take the approach whenever you study in scripture. Always confirm it by 2 or 3 witnesses. Whatever Paul says, you should be able to confirm it by what? 2 or 3 disciples. All right. So that's my rule of thumb. And actually, that is scripture right there. Always confirm things by at least 2 witnesses. All right. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and go further with this. Matthew chapter 22, verse 37. All right. Let's debunk that notion right here. And Yahushua, Jesus, said unto him, thou shalt love Yahweh thy Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. The first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But verse 40, on these 2 commandments hang what? All the law and the prophets. In other words, the law and the prophets, that is what the canonization of the scriptures at that time was referred to. The law and the prophets says these 2 commandments, guess what? The law of the prophets is going to teach these 2 key principles: to love the Father and how to love one another. These 2 commandments, right? It says hang all the law and the prophets. In other words, all the scriptures are going to teach these 2 key principles. And we see that in the law. right? So did Hamashiach change the Shabbat, right? Did he change the Shabbat? All right. Did he change the Shabbat? Okay, just looking at the time here. Did he change the Shabbat? What is the meaning of resurrection? We're going to deal with these, right? Some words of confusion. Let's start with the Greek definition of resurrection. All right. Resurrection. This is what it means. Anastasia. It means this. Excuse me. Right. Had to clear my throat. Sorry about that. All right. So this is what it means. A standing up. It goes on to say recovery, raised to life again, rising again. All right. So resurrection, Anastasia, means standing up again, recovery, raised to life again. So the Hebrew definition of resurrection, chaya, because if we're not careful and we start getting caught up in so many different theologies and people understandings of the study of God per se, we can end up taking on their interpretations of scripture and thinking that their interpretations is the final say so. Many actually believe that the resurrection did not start until the New Testament per se. But let's see what it says here. All right, let's see what the definition of chaya is. Let's see what it means. All right, it says this: to revive, give life, give promise life, recover, restore, revive, restore. In other words, to life, revive. All right. So resurrection means to restore to life, to revive. Okay. So the key to understanding understanding resurrection. All right. And I want to make this clear. Resurrection did not start in the New Testament per se. We could look in the scriptures. We see how Elisha, all right, the Most High used Elisha to what? Revive, to resurrect. All right. The woman's son, all right, who had died, right? The Shunammite woman's son. Okay. So we could give other examples, but I just want to give that one off the top. So, and also we see Ezekiel, right? Chapter 37 is actually dealing with resurrection, right? And resurrection is not something that starts when you die physically. Resurrection starts right now. Your choice is what side of eternity you're going to live on, whether you're going to reside on the eternity of being what? Damned per se, or what? On the blessing side of it. All right. But nevertheless, let's deal with this. The etymology dictionary definition of restoration. All right. And guys, this is important. This is why I'm building all of this up so you understand what I'm getting ready to go into. All right. So I want to just deal with some key words. Restoration, it says here, renewing of something lost. Right. Now we start to understand the word karash, renewing of something lost. Okay. Renewing of something lost. I want to say that again. So let's deal with restore, because we saw that there. Restore, it says here, to build up again, repair. I'll say that again: to build up again, repair, make or be firm. There you see that word there: repair, rebuild, renew. That's in the definition of chadash: repair, rebuild, renew. Now this is start giving you a proper understanding when you hear people say the renewed covenant versus the new covenant. It's actually renewed covenant, but we'll deal with that another time. All right. So restore means to build up again, repair, rebuild, renew. So let's deal with the etymology of the prefix here. Let's deal with the etymology here. This word forming element, meaning back to the original place, again, anew, once more, right? Also with a sense of undoing. All right. So this is giving you the proper understanding. Wherever you see is what? Getting back to the original place, again, anew, once more, also with a sense of undoing. In order to get back to that original place, that means we have to undo some things. All right. So means getting back to the original place, undoing. All right. So restoring of life did not start with what I call the renewed covenant. Let's go to 2 Kings. I highlighted this. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 5, and we'll see an example here. And it says this: And and it came to pass as he was telling the king king how he had restored a dead body to life, that behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life, Kaya, there you see that word, cried to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, my lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life. Right. So we see resurrection right there. All right. So this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life. All right. So again, resurrection, kaya, from in Hebrew, as we see that, means to restore to life, revive. Okay. So let's go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 39. Let's see the prophecy of resurrection. This is the Hebrew Israelite Messiah speaking here. But he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after, there we see that term again, sign, proof, evidence, right? Oth, and there shall no sign oth be given to it, but the sign oth of the prophet Jonas. All right. For Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So what day was the Hebrew Israelite Messiah restored to life on? What day? What day was he restored to life on? Okay, I know I'm giving you a lot of information here. I know we're dealing with a lot. All right, I'm just looking in the comment section to see if there's any comments here. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So what day was Hamashaya? What day was he restored to life on? Kaya. What day was he restored to life on? What day was the Hebrew Israelite Messiah? What day was he up again? All right, standing up again. How important is it to know this information? It is very important. Going back to what I said to you earlier about Exodus 31, it says that the Shabbat will be what? A sign. Not just the Shabbats, right? Shall be a sign to the people of Yah. So Hamashiach being raised up again is important to the restoration of hope to a dead people. Let me say that again. The Hebrew Israelite Messiah being raised up again is important to the restoration of hope to a dead people. So what is a day? All right. That's what we're going to deal with now. What is a day? When did it start according to scripture? All right. We already pointed out the day, but let's deal with it some more. Because remember, we dealt with what? The evening, right? Arab, which is what? The transition into what? The night, right? And then we dealt with the night, la yala, right? Or la, that's what? Night, midnight. And then we dealt with the morning, bakar, which is what? The transition, right? Into the day. And then we see day, yawam, which means the height, the hottest part of the day, which is normally what? 12 noon. Okay, so what is a day and when did it start according to scripture? All right, Genesis 1 and 5. This is what it says. Going back here. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So we see that the day started what? Evening. All right. That's where the day started. The transition of a day, usually, 6 o'clock. But when that sun start what? Setting. All right. As you see the transitioning taking place, going from what? Evening to the morning. As the morning, right, from that transition to the next transition, what? We see that full 24-hour cycle when we understand this. All right. But let me give you another key scripture to put this in its proper perspective. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 32. It says this, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. And again, don't, get caught up in the Catholic way of understanding, afflict your souls. They beat up their bodies and all that other stuff. But nevertheless, it shall be unto you a Sabbath rest. And ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even. All right. It says, from even unto even shall ye celebrate your Shabbat or Sabbath. That's a full 24-hour cycle. So how many hours are there in a day? Yawam, how many hours? All right. Did Hamashiah know the number of hours in a day? Absolutely. All right. Let's go to John chapter 11, verse 9 and 10. All right. And Rabbi Stansbury made a reference to this. And Jesus, all right, Jesus answered, Yahushua answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? Right now, notice he's dealing with the first part of the day, right? It says, if any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. So that means that from what? The transition of what? The morning, right? Which is what we talked about, Bakar, right? To what? Evening, in the height of the day, right? Yawam is what? 12. That's the hottest point. That's the midpoint, basically. So again, from what's normally about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., that is what? The day that the Hebrew Israelite Messiah is referring to. But this is what it says. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth. So we see that he's actually showing the day portion, the day half of what 24-hour cycle. But then he refers to what? The night, right? But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. Okay, so Hamashaya understood time. Absolutely. So how many days in a 72-hour cycle? Right? That's the key, right? How many days are in a 72-hour cycle? All right. How many days in the 72-hour cycle? Let's go to the scriptures. John chapter 2, verse 19 through 21. It says this. Yahushua, Jesus, answered and said unto them, destroy this temple in 3 days. I will raise it up. Then said the Jews, or Judeans, 46 years was the temple in building, and thou wilt rear it up in 3 days. But he spake of the temple of his body. All right. So understand this. See, this is what happens when you have a group of educators that don't have revelation. They begin to take things what literal. So when you read the scriptures, you have to understand 2 key words: personification and idioms. All right. So when you hear, like, for example, it's raining cats and dogs out here, guess what? That is it. Idiom. You just using like dogs and cats, right, to explain what the intensity of the storm. But then when you actually add a gender to like a object, like a car, a house, now you're getting into what? Personification. So those are different things that many really don't understand when they're reading the text. And it really causes a lot of problems with understanding what you're reading. So again, Yahushua answered and said it to them, destroy this temple in the 3 days, I will raise it up. Then said the Judeans, 46 years was the temple, this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But it makes it clear, but he spake of the temple of his body. All right. So when is the 9th hour? Man, we got a lot to cover, right? We rolling here. When is the 9th hour? Let's deal with this. Here we go. All right. Matthew chapter 27, verse 46 through 47. It says this. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them stood there when they heard that said, this man called for Elias. All right, let's go further with this. All right, Mark 15, verse 34 and 35 says this. And at the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? So we see the 9th hour. We're confirming this with the with scripture. So let's deal with the key understanding of the biblical hours. Let's deal with the key understanding of this. What you see here is the Qumram Sundial, right? This is a sundial they found with the Qumran text, right? You know, the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Notice it. Notice what you see here, right? It's a sundial. All right. Let me explain this real quick, right? The Qumran sundial, the identification of the object as a sundial was based on a publication of the Shrine of the Book in Jerusalem, where most of the intact rather Dead Sea Scrolls are kept. This supposed sundial was found at the same time as the ancient scrolls, and at the first archaeologists thought it was simply a stone disc. It was locked away in a vault until recently being discovered, where it was found to be a sundial. Although previous timekeeping methods and charts were found at the Qumram site, the discovery of this small sundial provides further evidence of the Qumran interest in the measurement of time. So we see a sundial here, okay? At the bottom of the dial rather, and the part of the remains hidden when it stands on a flat surface, the form of the Hebrew letter ayin can be seen. All right, measuring about 1 by 1 centimeters. The letter stands close to the center of the disc. Right, no explanation for this find has yet been suggested. All right, so let me give you another example. Right, let me give you an example of a sundial that's in the scriptures. Right, the Dial of Ahaz. All right, the Dial of Ahaz. Now I want you to pay attention to how this sundial looks. Pay attention to this. All right, let me give you scripture on the Dial of Ahaz. It says, and Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, what shall be the sign of Yahweh will heal me, and that I shall go up into the house of Yahweh the third day? And Isaiah said, this sign shall thou have of Yahweh, and Yahweh will do the thing that he hath. It goes on to say, spoken, Yahweh has spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees? Notice that word, that number 10. Remember, we talked about that early. We still deal with what? The Yod, redemption, right? And the Hebrew Israelite Messiah spoke clearly about what? Touching, or changing and manipulating this letter, as well as what? The hairs on other letters. But nevertheless, spoken shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees or go back 10 degrees. And Hezekiah answered, it is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees. Nay, but let the shadow return backward 10 degrees. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto Yahweh, and he brought the shadow 10 Ishar degrees backward, by which it had gone down the Dial of Ahaz. All right. So let me show you a letter here. All right. So this is why I say, man, when you start learning the ancient Hebrew, when you start understanding the ancient Hebrew letters, you start understanding the significance of these letters, right? Notice what you see here, right? Notice what you see here. This is the quap, right? And it means circle, horizon, balance, right? Numerical value is 100. Okay. Now let me show you what the Most High had revealed to me when studying this text. I mean, took me years and years to studying this and getting these revelations that I'm sharing with you about the ancient Hebrew writings. Everything we see is contained in these letters. Key information that many have, I would say at least 95% of us have overlooked, those that even study Hebrew. But let me show you something here. Let's deal with this letter here. This is the pictograph of this letter. You see, it looks like a sunset, right? You see this circle look like the ion is the circle looks like an eye, but then you see what? The horizontal line looks like what? A sunset. But actually, if we take it a step further, we see that this letter looks like a dial. Oh, wow, this is powerful. This letter looks like a dial. Doesn't it look like a dial? All right, let me see some votes here. If you say it looks like a dial, type 1. If you disagree, type 2. I'm looking at the comment section right now. All right. Let's see here. Just type in 1. If this looks like a dial, a sundial, and I'm going to show you why this is significant. All right. If this looks like a sundial to you, hit 1. If it doesn't, press 2. But I'm going to take it further to show you the importance of this letter. All right. All right. Let me give you some illustrations here. All right. So the 9th hour is 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. Right. You see where you see the 9th hour and then you see evening, right? Irab, right? Evening, Remember, that's where the sun begins to what? Transition to the night. So you see with the ninth hour is 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar, right? But you see that is the ninth hour. See how we're using this dial as also a clock, right? Right. Let me go back here so you can get an illustration. Let me go back here. Let me go back here. I want you guys to see something here. All right. You see how that looks similar to here, right? The dial of Ahaz. All right. And let me go back here on this other dial, right? Let me go back here. I'm just flipping through here. I should have did it quicker, right? I'm gonna put the mouse here. See that right there? Doesn't that look like an upside down quap that I just showed? The line in the center, right? All right, all right. I just want to show that here. All right, I know I'm getting a little geek mode, going a little geek mode on you guys. All right, so let me not get too geeky here. So let's go back here. All right. So again, evening, the ninth hour, 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. Let's go to Luke chapter 23, verse 44 and 45. It says this. And it was about the sixth hour, there was a darkness over all the earth until the ninth hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. So it was about the sixth hour. The sixth hour is 12 noon. Remember, that is the hottest part of the day. We covered that earlier. So let's go back to our dial, right? Let's go back to the quap. That means balance. That means what? Horizon. The sixth hour is 12 noon on the Gregorian calendar. So you see where the sixth hour is located at. I just put my mouse so you can see that right here. The ninth hour, the sixth hour, all right? And that would be equivalent to what? 12 noon. Okay. So what time did Hamashiah die? What time did Hamashiah die? What time did he die? Shortly after the ninth hour, which would be shortly after 3 p.m. All right. Let's go to Luke chapter 23, verse 44 and 45 again. Let's see what it says, just so we could confirm it. And it was about the sixth hour, and there was a darkness all over the earth until the ninth hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple rent in the midst. It goes on to say, and when Yahushua had cried with a loud voice, said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And he gave up his spirit. All right. Hamashiah's death was shortly after the ninth hour. All right. See what the ninth hour is, right? Shortly after the ninth hour. So we see the sixth hour will be equivalent to 12 noon. The ninth hour would be equivalent to 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. So make a note of that as a bookmark as we calculate 72 hours from that day. Okay. So why was there a sense of urgency in taking Hamashiah down from the tree, the cross? Let's see, why was there a sense of urgency? Here's the law of that explains a lot of it. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 22 and 23. It says this: and if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, it goes on to say, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is a curse of Elohim, that thy land be not defiled, which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee for inheritance. So having him on that tree would have cursed the land. Right? Anyone that's hung, they are supposed to be taken down before the evening. All right. So I hope that makes sense there. Okay. I know I'm in geek mode here, guys. And if I'm going too fast, type it in and I'll slow it down some. But I just want to get as much as I can before I turn in. All right. So let's deal with the reconstruction of the Hebrew calendar. All what I just shared so far took us up to this point. I know I gave a lot of information and you're going to have to go back and read this video again, but I'm going to slow down some. We got about, I know I said I wanted to stay within an hour and a half, but we'll go for another 30 minutes. All right. All right. So let's see here. Let's see some of the comments real quick. I see Sister Pam saying, let's see, following you, Sister Melinda. Let's see what she says here. This matter, we have been so unaware. Thanks for this. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Just Reese says 72-hour geek mode. I'm following you, Pastor. All right. In geek mode. Let's see what else here. So we're just going to go ahead and move forward here. Let's get it in. All right. Let's see how much we could cover over the next 30 minutes. All right. So let's start with the reconstruction of the Hebrew calendar. I said all of that, what we shared up to this point, is to give you all the sound information. So now that it lays the foundation to reconstruct the Hebrew calendar. All right. All right. Just had to drink some water. All right. So let's deal with this now. It starts with understanding the 360-day calendar. Let me say that again. In order to reconstruct the Hebrew calendar, the very first calendar that the Israelites had coming out of Egypt, it starts with understanding the 360-day calendar day cycle. Let's deal with that. There were 30 cultures around the world that used 360-day year with 12 30-day months. Let me say that again. There were 30 cultures around the world that used 360-day years, a year rather, with 12 30-day months. So the 360-day calendar was within the Hindus. They had a 360-day calendar. This is coming from Wilikowski, Emmanuel, Worlds in Collision. This is a great book right here, great book of reference. This is what it says. The text of the Veda period known a year of only 360 days. All Veda text speaks uniformly and exclusively of a year of 360 days. Passages in which this length of the year is directly stated are found in the Brahmanas. It is striking that the Vedas nowhere mentions an intercalary period, and while repeatedly stating that the year consists of 360 days, nowhere refer to the 5 or 6 days that actually are a part of the solar year. The Hindu year, 360 days, is divided into 12 months of 30 days each. All right. The text describes the moon as crescent for 15 days and waning for another 15 days. They also say that the sun, all right, we're not going to get into all that. All right. So let's deal with the Persians. All right. The ancient Persian year was composed of 360 days, or 12 months of 30 days each. In the 7th century, 5 Gotha days were added to the calendar. And the Bundahis, and remember what I said, the issue is not the 7-day cycle, it's the what? Calendar year cycle. Because here you see what? It says 5 days were added to what? The ancient Persian calendar. It says in the 7th century, 5 Gotha days were added to the calendar. And the Bundahis, a sacred book of the Persians, the 180 successive appearances of the sun from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, and from the summer solstice to the next winter solstice are described in these words. There are 180 apertures, in other words, Rogan, in the east, and 180 in the west. And the sun every day comes in through an aperture and goes out through an aperture. All right. It comes back to Varak and 300. All right. You get it. 360. All right. That's what it says. Now let's deal with the Babylonian calendar. 360 days. It says the old Babylonian year was composed of 360 days. The astronomical Yeah, astronomical tables or tablets from the period antedating the Neo-Babylonian Empire compute the year at so many days without mentioning of additional days. That the ancient Babylonian year had only 360 days was known before the cuneiform script was deciphered. All right. It goes on to say, Cestius wrote that the wall of Babylon were 360 furlongs encompass as many as there had been days in the year. The zodiac of the Babylonians was divided into 360 decans, and a decan or decan being the space of the sun covered the the relation to fixed stars during a 10-year period. However, uh, 36 decans with their all right, but you get it gist of it. Let me go back here because I know I kind of chopped it up a little bit. But the key here says um, the walls of Babylon were 360 furlongs in compass. That's why I want to really make sure you understand that. Okay. So let's deal with the 360-day calendar within Israel. And let's go back to this reference. It says the month of the Israelites from the 15th to the 18th century before the present era was equal to 30 days and 12 months, comprised a year. There is no mention of months shorter than 30 days, nor of a year longer than 12 months. All right. And so it goes on and gives us some more information. Let me go back here. That the month was composed of 30 days is evidenced by Deuteronomy, right? And we see here, and it gives scriptures here, where mourning for the dead is ordered for a full month. It is carried on for 30 days, right? You will not find a month within the Hebraic text that's beyond 30 days or less than 30 days. The story of the flood, as given in Genesis, reckons in months of 30 days. It says that 150 days pass between the 17th day of the month. Oh man, I hit the button. All right, let me go back here. 17th day of the month of the second month in the 17th day. All right. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 34 and verse 8 and let's confirm this. All right. So far, we're going to prove that within the year of a Hebrew calendar, we done saw other cultures, right? They have what 360-day years, right? 30-day months, and of course, all of them had what 7-day weeks, 7-day week cycles. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and deal with this some more. Let's build on this some more, right? Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 8. And the children of Moab, and the children of Israel wept for Moses, Mashah, in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. So we see what? 30 days. All right. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 13. It says this, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her and shall remain in thine house and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that, thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband. But we see here a full month, right? A full month, kadash, 30 days. Okay. So additional proof of Israel's 360-day calendar. Let's go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 6. This is what it says. It says, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,203 scores days. Let's break this down. Let's do the math. So that's 1,260 days divided by 30-day calendar, a 30-day month, right? We're equal into what? 42 months. All right. So 1,260 days divided by 30 equals 42 months. Why is that important? 42 divided by 12 equals 3.5 years. Okay. So we have exactly 3.5 years. When you see this number, let me go back 1260, right? That is actually 42 months. 42 months is actually 3.5 years. Okay. So Israel used a 360-day year and 12 30-day month calendar. All right. So let's go further with reconstructing the calendar. All right. Let's go further with reconstructing the Hebrew calendar. All right. All right. Let's go further here. Okay. It starts by identifying the first Shabbat. Oh, man. Remember, we said the Shabbat is a sign. See, the problem is many of those that are teaching the text do not understand that the Shabbat is a sign forever for the children of Israel. Okay, for the children of Israel, it's a sign forever. Exodus chapter 31 makes it clear it is a sign forever. It did not change. So, in order to what? Reconstruct this calendar, we have to understand what? The Shabbat. And that's why many are struggling with honoring the days, the holy days of the Most High, the 7th day Shabbat of the Most High, because they're not understanding that it is a sign. Okay, the Shabbats are a sign. Let's deal with this. Right, Exodus chapter 16, verse 1. Let's start with reconstructing this calendar. It says, and they took their journey. This is after they done left out of Egypt. All right. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day. Make a note of that. The 15th day of the second month. Notice it's giving what? Numbers of the second month after they're departing out of the land of Egypt. All right. So again, on the 15th day of the second month, Israel arrived in the wilderness of Sin and rested on the 15th day of the second month. So let's go to verse 4 and 5 of chapter 16. It says this. There's some key information here. Then said Yahweh unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they walk in my law or no. All right. They had to prove themselves, right? But nevertheless, and it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Okay, so the 15th day of the second month is a Shabbat. All right, that is a sign. So I'm going to show you how to construct your calendar here. All right, so again, the 15th day of the second month is a Shabbat. So here is our calendar. So if you wrote it out, right? If you write out, remember it's 30-day cycles. Notice what I did. I wrote it out in what? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So I made each day of the week. And so I placed 15th under the Shabbat, right? So the 15th day of the second month is a Shabbat, according to Exodus 16 and 1, when we read the entire text. And on this day, the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin. So Moses shared with Israel what to expect on the next day. All right, let's break that down. And Moses and Aaron said unto the children of Israel, at evening, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. So evening, right? Arab, right? And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of Yahweh, for he hath heard Shemai your murmurings against Yahweh. And what are we, and what are we that ye murmur against us? Okay, so Moses and Aaron went before Israel and declared Yah's promise and instructions. In the evening, all right, the transitioning of the day going into the night, in the evening, Arab, Yahweh would use his provisions to provide that it was he who saved them and brought them out of the land of Egypt, all right, brought them out of the Egyptian slavery. So in the morning, again, Bakar, right? Yahweh would use his provisions to prove his glory. So let's see what happens on the next day. So you see here, just Shabbat is the 15th, right? The next day, which is the first day of the week, is what? The 16th. Okay. All right. Let me put these notes back up here. The 15th, the 15th day of the second month. All right. And then the 16th at evening, right? Then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you right? So this is going into the next day, the evening of what? Transitioning from the 15th, right? Evening, right? Going into the 16th. That's the transition of the day, right? The transitioning of what? Going from what? Daylight, right? Into the night. So this is the transition, right? Which is what? Normally when you see people celebrating the Shabbat, they start at what? 6 p.m., right? On a Friday as they what? Transition, right? That is the Shabbat from evening to evening, which would be what? 6 p.m. the next day, right? That Saturday is where it would end. Okay, so we have 2 days on our calendar. Guess what? We have a lot here, right? We done covered a lot just right here. We can reconstruct the Hebrew calendar based off of just these two key dates right here. But let's go further here. The evening of the 16th day begins as sundown, right? Begin at sundown, 6 p.m. on the Shabbat of the 15th day. All right. So, and it came to pass that at even, right? Irab, this is what it says. And it came to pass that at evening, the quails came up. Oh, wait a minute. So the quails at evening, right after the Shabbat, right, had ended, it says, even quails came up and covered the camp, right? So at evening, transitioning into the first day of the week, as the sun began to set, it says all the quails, and this is a miraculous time that's happening, right? All the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning, the morning dew lay round about the host. So these birds, right, in the morning, as it's transitioning to what? The daylight part of the day, now it's saying that what? These quails are accessible now. So it shall come to pass that on the sixth day, all right, let's deal with that again. Oh man, this is just powerful right here. Verse 21, and they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted, right? Go further. And it came to pass that on the sixth day, they gathered twice as much bread. Now we're dealing with another week here, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. It goes on to say, verse 23, and he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh has said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat unto Yahweh. Bake that which ye will bake today, and see it that ye will see it, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to be kept until the morning. Okay. You see what's happening here? He's making it clear that we're about to transition from what? Into another day, from the sixth day into the seventh day, which is what? That evening. Remember, remember what I said? That is the transitional portion of the day, going into from one day to another and going into what? The night, right? So again, that evening after the Shabbat, the first day of the week, on the 16th of the second month, Israel witnessed the miracles of Yah and began gathering manna for 6 days. All right. So again, when we see that they gathered manna for 6 days, starting at the first day of the week, all the way up to what? The sixth day of the week, which would be the 21st, right? Because if you add 5 days from the 16th, then we see highlighted in yellow, right? Those are 5 additional days, right? So the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, they did all their work. But at the evening of the 21st, transitioning to the 22nd, that is a Shabbat. Now, what do we have here? Look at what we have. We just identified 2 Shabbats. We just identified, pretty much reconstructed the first month. The second month. Because if you can reconstruct the second month, then you can reconstruct the entire calendar. All right. Let me give you some more information here. Let me show you here. All right. So remember the 15th day of the month, second month, right? On the 15th, right? Exodus 16:1. It came to pass that evening, the quails came up. Exodus 16, verse 13. So as it went into the 16th, right? That's when the quails came up, right? Okay. So let's identify another Shabbat, right? Exodus 16, verse 26. Let's identify another Shabbat. 6 days ye shall gather it up. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the seventh day, which is the Shabbat, in it there shall be none. Right? You see here, we identified all, and this dealing with the 22nd, right? So we identified 2 Shabbats here. So constructing the Hebrew calendar, guess what? Let's recap here. Israel arrived in the wilderness on the 15th day of the second month. Okay, we confirmed that. Or the next morning, the first day of the week, on the 16th day of the second month, Israel began gathering manna for 6 days. We confirmed that. And after the sixth day of gathering manna comes the next day, which is the weekly Shabbat. We confirmed that. On the 15th day of the second month was a weekly Shabbat. And guess what? The 22nd day was a weekly Shabbat. We confirmed 2 Shabbats here. Now that we identified the 2 7-day Shabbats, we can fully reconstruct the the second month, right? And there you have it here, right? There you have it here. There's the 2 Shabbats right there. So now let's go ahead and finish reconstructing this calendar. Notice how I added the Shabbats for each of that month. So we see that we have the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and of course you have the 29th. All right. But we just what? We literally reconstructed the second month of the first Hebrew calendar. That's awesome right there. That is awesome. This is nothing but revelation right here. We know Yah is real. We know that he is confirming this to his people in this time of the season that we live in. So the second month of the calendar is complete. Let's map out the 7th-day Shabbats of the first month of Exodus. Let's deal with that. So now we can pinpoint the first Passover occurring on a Wednesday. Let me prove this. All right. So this is the second month. We got it all drawn out. Remember, we got 30 days, right? So we got the 29th, the 22nd, the 15th, the 8th, the 1st. Those are Shabbats, 30-day months. So that means that the 30th day of the first month would be, and as you see in gray, the 30th, right? You see that right there. That the first day of the second month is what? You see it right there, falls on the Shabbat. But when you look at the gray, that is the last week of the first month. So basically, all we have to do is count 30 days back. Now we just what? Literally reconstructed the first month. Here it is. Now see what happened. See what happened? Now, by us already having all the Shabbats of the second month, now we see at the end, at the bottom here, you see that where it says first, that is the first Shabbat. That is the first day of the second month. So now when we go back 7 days from there, we see the 24th, the 17th, the 10th, the 3rd. Then we see in that the middle of the week, the 14th. Wow, that's the middle of the week. But the question is, Pastor, why did you highlight the 10th in red, the 14th in red, and the 15th in red? Well, we're going to explain that. The 10th, right? That is the day that they selected and secured the lamb, right? The 14th, the Passover and day of preparation, right? So the first Passover fell on the 4th day of the week, all right? The 4th day of the week. The first Passover fell on the 14th day of the month. Okay. What day was Hamashaya crucified? All right. What day was he crucified? Let's see here. All right. Any comments so far? All right. We rolling here. I know I gave you a lot of information. Okay. Let's see here. Any comments so far? All right. Let's see here. Just looking here. Okay. Let's go ahead and go. See if we could get to a stopping point, because I still have a lot more to go over. So we're going to look and see if we could get to a stopping point. So what day was Hamashaya crucified? What day was he crucified? Daniel chapter 9, verse 25 through 27 gives the answer, right? Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to rebuild, and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. All right, let me read that part again. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. All right. Verse 27. This is key. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. That is key right there. Highlight the word midst. It says in the midst of the week. So again, in the midst of the week, ka, excuse me, ka tazah or katzah, or excuse me, katazai or katzai. All right. But nevertheless, let's deal with the mist, the mist, right? Let's see what this word is. Katazai. Let's see what this means. All right. Let's see what this means. It says to cut or split in two, halve, divide. Then we see what? Mist. Okay. So we see that this word, when you see mist, this means half, divide. That's key. Mist means to divide, cut in two, the middle. Okay. So what day is the middle of the week? What day is the middle of the week? That day would be the fourth day called Wednesday. Of course, that is dealing with the Norse gods, but we're not dealing with Norse gods. That's why we are referring it to the fourth day. So when was the day of preparation? Okay. The day of preparation is before the high Sabbath, right? High Shabbat, from evening to evening. Let's confirm this with Matthew chapter 27, verse 62. It says this, and there was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. Now the next day that followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate. So again, the next day that followed the day of preparation, that's a key. Mark 15:42, giving us confirmation as well. And now when the evening was come, because it was the preparation, that is the day before the Shabbat, right? Okay. Luke 23, verse 53 and 54 says this. We just confirming it with like I said, two or more witnesses. So we confirming this with other disciples. And he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that he was shown in stone, wherein never man before was laid. And that day was the day of preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. Okay, so John 19:31, we confirming some stuff here. The Judeans, therefore, because of it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Shabbat or the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was an high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that might be taken away. Okay, so now we have our calendar back up. Okay, let's highlight here the Passover and the day of preparation. Okay, the Passover and the day of preparation. Okay, we see that right there. Let me go back here. So we see the Passover and the day of preparation. That means the 15th, right? That is a high holy day. That is a Shabbat. So guess what? We see what? 2 Shabbats in a week, right? At least 2 Shabbats if we want to count the 16th, but really it's the 15th and the 17th. We have 2 Shabbats there. There was 2 Shabbats in 1 week. We had the holy day, and then we also have what? The 7th day. All right. So we going in here, guys. I'm giving you a lot of information. So what was the day of the lynching? That's right. It's a lynching. It occurred on the day of preparation. To accurately determine the date of the lynching, we have to pinpoint the date of the feast of Passover. We already did that, but let's pinpoint it. And it came to pass when Yahushua, Jesus Christ, had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. So the initial Passover, Passat, preceded the high Shabbat, right? The first day of the unleavened bread. So here we have it here, the Passover and the day of preparation. And then we have what? The first day of the unleavened bread, which is a high holy day, which is what? A Shabbat, right? We see multiple Shabbats in that week. Day of the lynching of Hamashaya, which is what? In the middle of the week. The middle of the week, not a Friday, because it's impossible to get 3 whole days from the three let's just say the third hour, just after the third hour on the 16th, and he's already gone, right, by the first day of the week. It's impossible to get 3 days. Okay, but nevertheless, I'm not going to give some of the deceptive formulas they try to give to try to justify that. But again, it's Constantine that created and acknowledged Friday to be the day that Christ was what? Killed. He was lynched. He was crucified. And we just proved that with even with text, all right, with references. Okay. So Numbers chapter 28, verse 16. Let's read that real quick. It says, and in the 14th day of the first month is the Passover of Yahweh. And in the 15th day of this month is the feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten. All right. So the first month is the Passover of Yahweh. And in the 15th day of this month, the 15th day is what? The feast, right? 7 days shall be what? Unleavened bread and unleavened bread be eaten. Okay. So Hamashiah was lynched on the same day of the Passover lamb. The lamb had to be slaughtered at a very specific time. Okay. Very specific time. Let's go to the scriptures here. Exodus chapter 12, verse 6. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. There we see that word again. Arab, kill it in what? The evening. All right. So the Passover Passat meal observance is commemorating the night that Yahweh passed over Egypt and killed the firstborn that were not covered by the blood, which means that the Passover Passat began what? At night. Oh man, that's powerful. So Exodus chapter 12, verse 12 says this. Let's see here. For I will pass through Arab, right? Oh, excuse me, Ibar, excuse me. I will pass through Ibar, which is also what the primitive root to the word Hebrew, Ibar Yah. All right, and also the name of Eber, Ibar, right? The land of Egypt that night. There we have that word again, La Yalal or Lai Lal. All right, excuse me, Lai La, and will smite the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. So the commandment in honoring the commandment in honoring the Shabbat. Remember Exodus chapter 12, verse 14. Here it is. It says here, in this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep a feast to Yahweh for your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. Awalam, forever, perpetual, forever, forever, forever. All right. So, what day was the resurrection? Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. I might as well keep it going, guys. I'm already past the point of no return. I might as well keep it going. What day was the resurrection? And the end of the Sabbath, right? This is Matthew chapter 28, verse 21. Verse 1. And the end of the Sabbath, as it began to draw on to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to the sepulchre. All right. So in the end of the what? Sabbath. All right. Let's look at this again. All right. John 20, verse 1. The first day of the week cometh Mary, Magdalene, right? Magdalene, rather, early. And it says, when it was yet dark. Now we still seeing what? She came while it was what? Transitioning, right? The morning, transitioning from night to morning. But this is what? Now we into what? The first day of the week, right? Remember how we constructed the calendar. All right. So what? See if that the stone was taken away from the sepulchre. So Mary Magdalene early when it was what? Yet dark. Hamashiah, guess what? He had already risen. He was gone by the time Mary arrived. He was not in the sepulchre. All right. So let's go to Mark chapter 16, verse 2. This is what it says. And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came into this sepulchre at the rising of the sun. All right. Luke chapter 24, verse 6. He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spake unto you when he was yet in Galilee? You see, now we got this this month back up. We got this calendar back up. Let's highlight it. The Passover and the day of lynching, right, occurred on the 14th, right? The day of unleavened bread, which is a high holy Sabbath, Shabbat, right? We see on the 15th, all right? And then we see Mary discovers an empty sepulcher. So it's impossible for the resurrection to happen on the 18th. Remember, the Shabbat is a sign. And one of the greatest signs is who? The death and resurrection, excuse me, resurrection of the Hebrew Israelite Messiah. So if he was killed, gave up his spirit on the just past the ninth hour, right, which would be 3 p.m., right, just past the ninth hour on the what, 14th. Now count 72 hours from the 14th. You will get what, right at what, just past the ninth hour, 3 p.m. on what, the Shabbat. And let me make this clear, because many will use all kinds of ways to try to debunk him being resurrected on the Shabbat, right? Because they say, hey, that's work. Being resurrected is work. No, it's not work on the Shabbat. Getting up out of bed is not work on the Shabbat, right? Right. So he said that what? In Exodus chapter 31, that the Shabbat, right? The sign of, right? The proof, the evidence, what happened on the Shabbat. So again, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Were there more than one Shabbat this week? I answered it. I gave you illustration, but yes, more than one Shabbat. Right. So on the 10th, we see what? Hamashaya enters in the city on the donkey, right? And that is the day what? The day also would select what? The lamb on that day. But nevertheless, we see on the 14th, right? Because on the 16th, Hamashiah enters the city on a donkey. That's a Shabbat sign. The Passover and day of lynching, right, occurred on the 14th, right? But then we see what? On the 15th, right? We see what? That is a Shabbat. Okay. So we see on the 17th, that is 2 Shabbats within a week. But then we see Mary discovers an empty sepulcher on the first day of the week, which would be the 18th. All right. So here's the additional days. So the first day of the unleavened bread, high holy Shabbat, and the 7th day of the week, the weekly Shabbat. So we see what? 2 Shabbats in 1 week. So let's deal with this Greek word here, because I already went beyond my time. So I might as well wrap it up. All right. I'm almost finished here. Okay. So you guys good here. All right. So let's deal with the Greek definition of Sabbath. All right. This is what it says. All right. It says Sabbatan, right? Which is what? The Sabbath. An example, Shabbat, right? For all those that's trying to mock our brothers and sisters that say Shabbat, when you say Sabbath, that is a Greek pronunciation, right? It says here, the Sabbath, right? An example, Shabbat, right? That is the Hebrew pronunciation, Shabbat, or day of weekly repose from secular avocations. Then it goes on to say also the observant or institution itself. It goes on to say, by extension, you guys get the gist of it, but it says the interval between 2 Shabbats. Likewise, the plural in all the above applications. So you see Sabbath day, but then you see week. So you can have Sabbath days and you can also have Sabbath weeks. All right. So Sabbath in Greek means 7th day of the week. It can also mean a single Sabbath day. And it also means the 7 days a week. All right. Let me say that again. In Greek, the Sabbath means the 7th day of the week. All right. A single Sabbath day. It can also mean the 7 days, right? A Shabbat, a Sabbath week, right? Which, when I say 7 days, that is a week. Let's confirm this with Matthew 28:1. Right now, I want to bring up the interlinear Bible, and we're going to prove this right here as we get ready to wrap this up. All right. The interlinear Bible, right? This is giving you a raw translation of or alliteration of the Hebrew or the gospel here, Matthew. Let's see what it says here. And this is what's going to really show you and really shut it down. What people, many or what the church teaches. It says on lighting into one of what? Sabbaths. Wait a minute. So we see that what? It's saying that there was 2 Sabbath, Sabbatan, 2 Sabbaths. on the lighting into one of two, of Sabbath. So we know that there's what? Plural. That's Sabbaths, plural. Remember, there was two Sabbaths in the week. Okay. But let's confirm this. Mark 16:2. Let's confirm this again. It says, very morning of the one of Sabbaths. Wait a minute. You see the plural there as well? Okay. You see the plural there as well? Let's see what Luke 24 says. Let's see if it's going to stay consistent. It says, to the yet one of the what? Sabbaths of early, right? So we see what? Each one is confirming that there was what? Multiple Sabbaths, right? So let's see one more. John 20, verse 1. All right. To the yet one of what? The Sabbaths. So in that week, we just confirmed that there were what? Multiple Shabbats in that week. You had the what? The Shabbat that was on that the fifth day of the week, right? And then you also had what? The traditional seventh day Shabbat, two in that week, right? So there are no contradictions. Absolutely no contradictions. What's important about what's the importance of honoring the Shabbat? I gave it to you. It is a sign, right? Hebrew definition of sign again: a signal, evidence, mark, miracle, proof. Okay. So again, going back to Exodus 31, 12, and 13, as we started off with, it says this, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you. So is honoring the Shabbat and Passover strictly for Israel? Absolutely not. And I just proved that, right? And here's Exodus chapter 12, verse 48 and 49. It says this is powerful. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So we see here proof. One law, verse 49, one law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. So Isaiah 56, verse 2 and through 6 says this, and we just covered this, right? But let's see what it says again. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Either let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to Yahweh speak, saying, Yahweh hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. And thus saith Yahweh unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Honor, for honoring what? The law, statutes, and commandments. Honoring what? The covenant, which inside the ark of the covenant, you have what? Honoring the what? Shabbat is inside the ark of the covenant. You cannot say that you're honoring the Hebrew Israelite Messiah and you speaking against the Shabbat. You don't understand covenant. You don't understand the basic principles of understanding the presence of the word being made flesh to dwell among us. Verse 6. Also the sons of the stranger shall join themselves to Yahweh to serve him, and to love the name of Yahweh, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath or Shabbat from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. So what is one of the greatest signs that occurred on the Shabbat? I gave you the answer: the resurrection, Kaya, of the Hebrew Israelite Messiah. And as we go back to the calendar, we confirmed this, right? Here's the calendar, right? On the 10th day, that would for the Passover, that's when they gathered the lamb, right? Selected the lamb on that day. But we see here, Hamashiah enters the city on a donkey. See how it ties in? That's on the Shabbat, signs on the Shabbat, and he's confirming himself to the people, right? They're singing praises of him. They singing Yahweh Shai, save me. And then on the 14th, we see what? The Passover, the day of the lynching. This is where he was what? Lynched, hung on the tree, hung on the cross, right? And then we see what? On the 18th, which is what? The first day of the week, Mary discovers what? An empty sepulcher. And we see that the 15th, right, which is one of the holy days, right, which is a high holy Shabbat, is the first day of the unleavened bread. And then we see what? The seventh day of the seventh day Shabbat, the weekly Shabbat. So when it says after the Shabbats, right, the first day of the week is what? After what? Multiple Shabbats. We just shut it down right there. We just shut it down right there. I'm gonna stop right there. That's the end of the presentation. I made it all the way through. We made it all the way through to the end. All right. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope that this blesses you. There's a lot of information that was shared. Go back over. I know I went through some of it pretty quick, but go back over it and you will see all what I shared with you. And if you walk your loved ones through this, I guarantee you there's nothing that they can say or do that justifies not honoring the Shabbat, not honoring the feast days, because everything, all the signs are on them. All right. So let's see what we have here. Any comments that any of you guys would like to make, just go ahead and share it on the screen. And, I'll just look at it real quick before we wrap up. Let's see here. Philip Turner, what application are you using for the interlinear Bible on the screen, sir? That's me in geek mode. That's not a special application. Actually, that is actually a PowerPoint presentation I put together. And, did some geeky stuff, just took screen prints and all those different things. So that way I could present the information the way that I did. All right. Okay. All right. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Sister E stepped away for a moment. Have to start over. Okay. Let's see here. What else? Sister Melinda, let's see what she says. Thank you, Pastor Kelly. All right. Appreciate you for tuning in. Let's see here. All right. So, guys, there you have it here. This is proof. And it really gives the importance of honoring the Shabbat. All right. Let's see here. Special foods. All right. We'll deal with the foods. We'll deal with that next time we come together, and I give you the special foods that are there. Okay, and we'll deal with that. Okay, so a great question. Special foods for the Shabbat. We'll deal with that, and actually, we're going to deal with, because we got a couple of feast days that's going to come up in October, towards the end of September and October. So if any of you guys are interested in it, let me know. We'll post it on Facebook and we'll post it here. So that way, if you guys want to come and honor the feast days in our assembly, you're more than welcome to come. We don't charge or anything like that. We just don't believe in charging for something that is our heritage. If you want to sow seeds, that's a different story. You can, but we don't charge anything for any of our feast days. Everyone participating, we have a great time. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Avya, the Sabbath, Shabbat, was made for man, not man for the Shabbat. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. Wonder if there was a play on the words, even powerful. And see, that's what we have to understand, right? Many would take this out of context for us in the church to say, hey, the Sabbath was made for us. In other words, we don't have to honor it. It's not that big of a deal. Actually, what it's saying here, that Shabbat was made for us to what? Give adoration to the Most High. He created the Shabbat. That's when you go to Genesis chapter 12, and you'll see in verse 2, it says he what? The Most High what? Bless Barak, the Shabbat, and sanctified it, right? Barak means to give adoration, and vice versa, to receive adoration. It also means to salute. So it was made for us, right? The Shabbat was made for us to what? Show adoration, to return the salute of the Most High. And if any one of you guys are prior military, you understand the importance of the salute. If you do not return a salute, man, you could get in all kinds of trouble. So I hope that helps here. Really appreciate you. Thank you again for Avia for your comments. Appreciate you here. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. All praises to the Most High. This exemplifies that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of our Allahayim. Absolutely. And that is coming out of the Hebrew Israelite Messiah quoted that when he was dealing with Hasatan, right, in the wilderness, Madabar, but also he was quoting Deuteronomy chapter 8, right, verse 2 and 3, and you'll see that text right there. Okay, let's see here. All right, let's see here. What is a good etymology book? All right, I'll just read one of them. All right, let me bring it up here. This is one of the ones that I have here. It is the Barnhart Concise Dictionary of Etymology by Robert K. Barnhart. Right, that's a good one to use. Of course, the online etymology is good, but it's good to have a physical one so that way you could do comparisons and ensure that there's no discrepancies. And for example, you will see a difference in the definition of Jew within the physical copy of the Barnt Concise Dictionary of Etymology versus the one that's online. You'll see a difference in the definition of Jew. You'll also see the difference in the definition, for example, of bronze. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we have here. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? All right. And hit the like buttons. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, but hit those likes buttons just so that way we could get the likes up. And that way, again, you know, that actually blesses me from a perspective of knowing that you appreciate the content that is being presented. All right. So that's how we just kind of, help get the word out and get the video further up at the top of the search. All right. So again, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I am getting ready to wrap it up. I know I went longer than what I want. To Rabbi, Shalom to you as well. Mash Pakat, peace. I appreciate you, family. Appreciate all of you guys. Anitri Yah, Montando, Pastor Kelly for the teachings, and I'll say to you, Thawadah, that's ancient Hebrew for thank you, but appreciate you for tuning in. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Avia, I've learned that the accurate translation for Eli, Lama Sabachthani this is for the for my Shabbat or Sabbath keepers. I'll give you clarity on that because this is where we have to go and do actual comparison. And when you actually see the ancient Hebrew, and you confirm this with Psalms 22, I believe that's where you'll see and get a better understanding of that term there. And I can show you that that's not actually what it actually means. If we take it from the modern or from the Greek or what we see in the scripture, you can see that there. But if you take it to the actual text, you'll see that it's different. Well, let me see here. Did I say Psalms 22? Or is it Psalms 41? I think it's Psalms 41. All right. So let me give the actual scripture here. I thought it was here. Yeah, I have to get it. I thought it was either 20. I thought it was Psalms 22 that actually gave clarity to to the text. But I'll bring that up next week. I'm kind of brain dead after doing this teaching here. I thought it was Psalms 20, the 22nd book of Psalms. I was trying to pull it up here. All right. So we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that. I'll give you clarity on that and we'll go through it to see if that's what it actually means. And And we'll see that that's, whether or not if that state, if that's actually accurate. So we'll deal with that. All right. So I appreciate you for sharing that, and we'll do the comparison from where the scripture actually comes from. All right. So peace and blessings to my brother Isaac Fingers. Appreciate you, all that you do. All right. So with that being said, guys, I'm not going to prolong this any longer. We all have to get up early. I know I have to get up early tomorrow. Shalom, salamah to you as well, brother Darnell. So again, go back over the presentation, and I'll make sure next time we come, I'll actually explain what you just pointed out with what you just pointed out, as far as Eli, lama sabachthani. All right, we'll get proper clarity on that to see if it actually means this is for my Sabbath keepers. That's a great question, and we'll prove whether or not if that's accurate. All right, with scripture and with actual definitions of the words. All right. So appreciate you, Sister Carol. Thank you for your support as well. All right. Thanks a lot, Sister Carol. All right, so let's go ahead and get ready to wrap up, guys. I appreciate you. Have a blessed remaining of the night. Get whatever rest that you need. Have a blessed week. As I always say in our assembly, um, as Moses encouraged Israel in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, he told them, "Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. The Egyptians that you see today, you will never have to deal with them again." In other words, that stronghold that you're dealing with today, you never have to deal with it again. Yahweh will fight for you, but you have to hold your peace. You have to hold your peace. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. For the last time, can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Shalom.